Hey there, it's Lokazi. Thanks for joining me for another game. It is FXO QXC versus EGDeMuslim here on MLG Dual Site. We actually have, this is the third game from the MLG Anaheim 2011 lower bracket of the open bracket. The first game went to QXC, the second game to deMuslim, so it went into this third and final game on this map that is a 1v1 player map. It is a unique map in that, well, not exactly unique for GSL, I suppose, but it has half of the map skinned one way and the other half of the map skinned another way, which is kind of interesting and really lets you know how they expect players to play the map, though it is way more common to go in a direct line away from your base when expanding, so I'm not really sure why they split it this way. The Zelnaga watchtowers are actually really interesting on this map. One of them is blue and looks like a warp gate, a gateway, and then it turns into a warp gate when you come up to it. The other one is red and has a weird little doodad name, so kind of interesting. deMuslim has built his refinery first, it looks like. Looks like an 11 refinery, and this is a build he does when he goes for a fast tech build. Usually it's a 1-on-1, sometimes it can be a straight to factory and get a reactor, pump out red flame hellions, so it really depends there. He's placed his supply depot in the middle of his base, as he has seen QXC do a Banshee build both of the previous games, actually. I was going to say the first game, but I think both of the previous games QXC did come out with at least one Banshee. He likes this weird like Banshee, Raven, Viking hit squad. He builds it in every Terran vs. Terran. It's really interesting. And over here at QXC's base, he's picked up his refinery a little bit later. He's going to finish his barracks first. And he placed his supply depot in a way that it will be able to see harassment. It'll actually see Reapers jumping up and down. deMuslim's fairly fond of Reapers. So that's a good thing to know your opponent and place buildings accordingly so you can see when a Reaper is jumping up right here and just have a Marine right there and a Marine right there, and you see a Reaper coming and you start moving them much easier than having Marine, 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 Marine for sight, because building just provides such greater sight range. And now his second one he's building up here where is very likely drop plate or Banshees would be coming in. It's kind of an interesting difference in theory of placement of buildings there between the two players in this Terran vs. Terran. deMuslim might be walling it up a little bit back here for blue flame hellions. Not really sure what he's doing with that supply depot. We will have to see. And so far he has not dropped, he's just pumping out Marines, deMuslim, out of his barracks. He's not actually putting a tech lab on it for the factory to research blue flame hellions really fast or a reactor or anything like that. So I'm going to have to go with it's probably a 1-1-1 build. And he'll build the reactor, the tech lab off of the racks, or no, probably the racks. He's been using the factories a lot for the blue flame hellions. Both of the players have gone for factory builds in these last two games, so I would assume he's just going to be trying to pump that hellions out of there the entire time, or as much as possible. Meantime, QXC is definitely floating a lot of gas, and on 2 Geyser, he's probably going for blue flame hellions. Yep, starting up blue flame hellions. And this is what he's done that's the exact build he's done the last 2 games, so pretty easy to predict there. So deMuslim must know this by now, so it'll be interesting to see how he reacts. And it looks like he's reacting with his Banshee build. So 1-1-1, and he's going to be not researching Cloak because he's only been running off of 1 refinery this entire time. QXC now moving into his 1-1-1 build. And like I said, his 1-1-1 build does have a Banshee, Viking, and Raven. He builds a Viking first, then a Raven, then a Banshee, and usually pushes across the map with those and tries to see what harassment he can do. And it's also a really solid strategy because it defends against any Banshee play coming across the field. By the time the Banshee gets here, you have a Viking almost. By the time the stealth kicks in, you have a Raven. That is, if they don't just hold off and research stealth first and build the Banshee afterwards, which some players do. But more commonly, players like to build their Banshee and send it across and just try and get some regular harassment out of it without even needing to go into stealth. You can usually get 4 or 5 kills and get away from Marines. So we'll have to see how that goes down. And deMuslim taking his command center very fast. He really likes to expand very quickly. Usually has at least 3 orbital commands up by the about 15-minute mark, or 12-minute mark. And that's not even at his 3rd, necessarily, just actually has 3, even if one of them isn't added an expansion. And this Banshee looks like it's going to die fairly quickly. It's going to get 2, 3, 4 kills? Yep, 4 kills. And then down it goes. In the meantime, a reactor was built for this factory, and this blue flame did finish. And then the starport has been swapped onto the tech lab, and there's that Raven, and there's going to be a Banshee out of it. As for his QXC's little hit squad that goes on. The Muslim also researching blue flame. Looks like he's in a pretty solid position here. He's adding on 2 more factories actually. So he is moving straight into that production of Hellions and probably tanks. Maybe Thors though. Here on this map, he's putting forward a bunker. He's playing pretty defensively here. And I don't think things are going to work out well for this SCV. There's about to be a new job posting on Monster.com. Yep. Looking for SCV to finish bunker in dangerous field of blue flame Hellions. Nice vacation and pretty health benefits. Hope they paid for his family, because that was rough. QXC is heading back across the map after lighting that Hellion on fire, and this guy took the job posting. Good for him. Brave little SCV. And that bunker was not actually cancelled. It was almost about to be cancelled, but not quite. QXC's reinforcement Hellions meeting up there at that red Zelnaga tower and forcing the blue flame Hellions back of EGDeMuslim. Marines move down the hill into the new bunker, their new little home. It'll be interesting to see if that one up there gets salvaged. It's going to be a little bit in the path of the units coming out of the map. I'm not sure Siege Tank or a Thor can squeeze by it. And we do have an armory, so Thors can be built now. There's no upgrade going now, no strike cams or anything like that. Bunker salvaged. 4th factory going down. Meanwhile, back at QXC's base, there's that hit squad heading out, as well as his expansion finishing up, and he's moving up onto 3 factory. This first one that finishes is very likely going to swap over there and start pumping out tanks. EGDeMuslim in his usual style really macros very, very well. He has moved on to his second base, has his orbital finished, down, and mining for QXC's, and he's just going to take extend his little bit of a macro lead that he already had going there. And there's 6 blue flame Hellions down here, so they may be able to light the transfer on fire, if there's going to be a middle transfer, and nope. Here they come. The transfer did pull back and is now running away. And all these blue flame Hellions having a massive battle back here, and the Banshee picking off the remainder of the Muslims, as well as the Viking. He really likes those Vikings in Terran vs. Terran QXC. He likes to build them, then land them, and then shoot at Hellions with them. I think that's his favorite. As the Vikings are as fast, almost as Hellions, they move at what? 2.75? Hellions move at 4.25? Really, 2.75 is a pretty fast unit for the Terran army. So they can get around the map, also they pass over terrain, can get back, defend, land. Really, and they're actually quite good against almost every mech unit, oddly enough, in their converted mode. Big blue flame Hellion fight. They are just exchanging these left and right. +1 vehicle weapons going down there for EGDeMuslim. And this Thor is looks like it's gonna scoot out and take some pot shots. Gets a good hit on that Banshee. Banshees of course and Ravens actually take extra damage there. 12 versus light. And QXC is saturating his natural. Doesn't look like he's really doing too much craziness. He's moving up onto 4 factory, and EGDeMuslim is moving up onto 5 factory in his standard style of always staying 1 up in whatever building the other player has, and it's really good style. His macro is very solid that he can do this every single time. Without fail, he's always been at 1 building, 1 production building, and 1 at least command center, if not orbital ahead. Even though it may not be placed correctly, it is up. And we have this little hit squad moving around the map right now. They scat out these Hellions kind of sharking about, and it is going to trigger these other Hellions to back up, I think. Yeah, there they go, they're running away. Big fight going on up here. QXC looks like he's luring back to his other Hellions. Ooh, very nice positioning there. Getting a really good concave and finishing off all those Hellions while only losing 2 more of his own. But those Hellions are not going to do very much versus these Thors. These Thors move up now before siege mode finishes here. 15 seconds. And another 3 siege tanks actually come out. They can deal a lot of damage. Looks like DeMuslim was waiting for a Blue Flame Hellion reinforcement, and he's going to move up and light this mineral line on fire. Actually backing out pretty early there. He needs to position himself to take out these Blue Flame Hellions. Big shots on all the SCVs, and wow, every SCV at the expansion does go down. Siege tanks coming out to scare away the rest of these Thors. And Blue Flame Hellion running up into the main base. It does not kill off a worker before it dies, but that was a really big exchange. Wow. 28-2 in workers killed there for DeMuslim, really crippling QXC. All of those workers pretty much make up the supply difference right there. And DeMuslim is now going to just start outproducing based on the number of workers he has advantage-wise over QXC. QXC really needs to get some harassment on to even up this match, and DeMuslim finishing up his third command center. He'll be morphing it to an orbital and moving it out, I'm sure, in the not-too-distant future. Meanwhile, it looks like QXC wants to attack with these 3 siege tanks. Not a bad idea, as he does have 3 siege tanks. There's only 1 Thor and a siege tank on the field for DeMuslim, so he can actually do a pretty good amount of damage. At the same time, though, you got to be careful not to siege up the siege tanks all right on top of each other, because the Blue Flame Hellions can just run in, light them all on fire. Even without the ability to not shoot at close position, it's a bad idea just because of the way Blue Flame Hellion damage works. You actually see the Blue Flame Hellions running up and trying to get those good shots in a straight line, but there's just too many tanks winning that fight for QXC. Very good exchange there for QXC. He actually picked off, it looks like 8 workers transferring over to this third. So he's got to be happy with that. He's going to back up. He really evened up the supplies quite a bit there in that fight. Took it from a almost 30 disparity to a only 10 disparity. And actually now less than 10 disparity. So very good exchange for him. He is now moving around some Blue Flame Hellions. Looks like he's going to go towards the natural here, as he is expecting a counterattack after losing that fight. And he knows it, so he's going to move up, and wow, he is returning that expansion favor in kind with these Blue Flame Hellions. They're dealing quite a bit of damage on this mineral line. They did not actually roast either of the mules that were down, but they did pick off quite a few SCVs. Looks like it is now 20-28. And DeMuslim looked like he was going to keep going with that counterattack, but all these siege tanks put a stop to that notion. He's going to reposition and see if he can come in on this right-hand side, it looks like. So he is sweeping all of his units around that way. Tanks being rallied across the map. Blue Flame Hellions actually being rallied close to defend against any type of Blue Flame Hellion pressure coming up. Planetary dropped at that third base. Good idea there. And we have the siege tanks going to work on the opposing siege tanks. These Vikings just kind of chilling, taking unnecessary damage up here in the air. Looks like they're going to be repaired and get back into the fight. Scan going out for DeMuslim there. Sees that all those siege tanks are still sieged up. He's just going to hold his position. Probably try and inch in closer if his other siege tank... No, he's put that one back there. So he's just set up as a long-term position here. And he sees the scan and he decides to back up just slightly. Wow. Brilliant play. He knew that QXC was going to try and take advantage of that tank number. Just push up, maybe take one extra hit, and then siege up and rip apart the 2 remaining siege tanks. Very nicely played there by DeMuslim. I'm going to have to remember that for my TVTs. If they scan you, and you're at a disadvantage in number of siege tanks, unsiege, back up a pace, resiege. Keep that position. Very nicely done there. And because he's running off the 3 command centers, actually, DeMuslim has resupplied pretty well there. The workers killed has evened up pretty well, 26-29. DeMuslim still slightly in favor, but he has a really good clamping position here at the main base of QXC. Looks like QXC is going for a counterattack with Hellions. Interesting to see how much damage he actually manages to deal there. There's a pretty good cluster of siege tanks right here. He should be able to hold off a good amount of damage, though there are quite a few reinforcements coming across the map here. DeMuslim pumping out 5 siege tanks at a time, or 4 siege tanks actually at a time. That's just ridiculous. And it looks like DeMuslim has decided it's time for him to push. He's pushing forward and just ripping apart this expansion, and all of these SCVs coming off the line again and just getting decimated by those Blue Flame Hellions. So interesting end of the game there. DeMuslim just on siege mode A moves into the army of QXC and wipes it out, actually. So kind of a interesting conclusion to a great series between the two players. It looks like these Blue Flame Hellions up here did some damage. None of them have any kills though. What happened to all the workers up here? Yeah, there's definitely a worker exchange as he went up at least 10 more worker kills. So it looks like some of the workers were picked off back here. This planetary was almost taken out, so it was a pretty successful counter push if you just held just slightly better here at the expansion and not lost all these workers. Could have stayed in the game a little bit longer. The supply differential though, just too massive to overcome all those workers being taken out and really no way to hold the top of the hill. So a great game out of QXC and EGDeMuslim there. EGDeMuslim taking it, of course, making it a 2-1 in his favor, so he will be advancing to round 9 of the lower bracket of Anaheim, MLG Anaheim 2011. That is the open lower bracket. He will face White Raw or Trimaster, whoever wins the round 8 in that advances. We'll have to see there. You can check it out on the MLG website, MLG.com, as well as all the other replays I've cast, as well as all the replays that MLG was nice enough to provide to all of us casters, so we could cast them for you. You can watch all those at the MLG website, so I highly encourage you to check those out. I've been watching some other casters myself, just really enjoying all of the different casting styles and all that type of stuff. Thanks for tuning in. This was Lokazi, Lokazi. You can find me at youtube.com/Lokazi, as well as justintv.com/Lokazi, and really anywhere on the internet as Lokazi. If you see that handle in a game somewhere, probably me. Say hi, we can talk about some StarCraft while we're playing something else, or talk about StarCraft while we're playing StarCraft. Looking forward to chatting with you guys in the future. Check me out on YouTube, and check out all those other great casters that were given the opportunity by MLG. Thank you very much, MLG, for casting all of these MLG Anaheim replays. And we also, I'm sure I speak for all the casters, we look forward to seeing you guys watching our replays for the upcoming Raleigh event, if that's the route they decide to go again with that. See you guys then.